Hey everyone. Whew, yesterday was a really rough day for a lot of us. I want to thank my friends and family members for checking in. Shri, thank you for seeing that I was in trouble and making sure Neil reached out, and my New York Times read-along family, and my sister who said, "Why did you look at the video? You got to protect your peace." Well, I didn't realize that I was in trouble. I had a good day yesterday. I did a webinar and I checked on my nephew and congratulated him, who is a police officer. And then I saw the video. And then I watched the video. And for the work that I do, and I was trying to move away from, and for everything that I know, when I saw the video, I could not believe we were watching a murder happen. And this was not a television show. I literally became unglued. I was hysterical, as you can see. I don't even know how to work this Facebook Live thing. Heck, And I just felt the need to say something and do something, and I was screaming because I was like, not again. Not again. How is it that we keep replaying the same story over and over and over again, and yet the storyline doesn't change? It's just the people, the characters change, and it's so painful. I was like in a lot of pain yesterday, and I was like, are you kidding me? And I was crying. I wasn't crying for the men, white men in uniform, not for them. I was crying for us. I was crying for me. I was crying for my son, both of them, for my daughters, both of them, for my granddaughters, for my nephew, for my nieces. I was crying for Black America, for brown America, for America altogether. And it's just like, you have to ask yourself, how is it that people cannot be moved by all of the things that happen? And we didn't even talk about Karen, aka Amy, in the park. We can't let these things keep happening. Maria, you are right. It happens to brown people too. It happens to our Hispanic and Latino and brothers and sisters, and this is not about one person. This is about all of us. This is about everyone. And if you can't be moved watching a murder happen in front of you, if you can't be moved, and if you don't know that something is wrong, when I hear people say, well, maybe he should have complied, maybe he shouldn't have resisted, well, maybe something happened before. Did you see the video? Did you watch the same video that all of us were watching? Did you watch 5 minutes and then add 2 more minutes? You know, 7 minutes is a long time. 10 minutes is a long time. That's a long time. And he cried for his mother. I'm not going to lose it today. Well, I don't know. And it's okay if I do. They had handcuffs on him. And he was on the ground. And the police officer said, well, get up. Somebody's always telling us to get up, telling black and brown people, just get up. Just stop talking about it. Just stop focusing on it. Just stop videoing it. Even when there's a video, we still have to prove that something happened. Even when there are pictures, we still have to prove something happened. They said he allegedly committed a forgery. Do you know they could have just given him a ticket and told him to come to court? Which nobody's going to court right now for forgeries anyway. For those type, like, he didn't murder anybody. He didn't stab anybody. He didn't have a weapon. And yet his race was weaponized against him. His masculinity was weaponized against him. We keep getting weaponized by the things that make us who we are. I don't know what we're going to do. I have no clue. But what I do know is that we can't stop speaking out about what keeps happening. That we can't ignore what keeps happening. That we can't stop videoing what keeps happening. That we can't stop telling our stories. That we can't stop sharing information. That we can't stop being outraged. That we can't stop thinking that there is hope. That we can't stop fighting for justice in the midst of injustice. I was a commissioner for the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference in Alabama, in Montgomery, Alabama. And there were men and women that came before us, police officers too, that came before us, a warden for the jail that came to talk about the stories. We were recording and talking about the injustices that exist in systems that are institutionalized and have cultures that really magnify the pain of black and brown individuals every day. And Bridget, you're right. It doesn't matter why. What matters is that the crowd was telling the officers he couldn't breathe. He was telling them that he couldn't breathe. And when you look at the picture, because I saw comments here and there and in some other places, but I want you to look at what we could see from the initial video, where there was a police officer standing there watching, like watching guard. You could see the one police officer leaning into his neck. He had his knee into his neck. But what you couldn't see on the other side, and if you look at my Facebook page, were the other officers that were holding him down. And he was handcuffed. They said he resisted. I train law enforcement literally across the country. Sometimes I have walked in the room and I have been the only me. Not just the only person that wasn't sworn, but I have been the only black, the only female in the room. All white men. I was not threatened. I didn't feel threatened. They didn't know why I was there. But it didn't matter because I showed them while I was there. But what I'm saying is people take their privilege and their lens and they don't see the whole story. They don't know the whole story. There were other people holding them down. So the officer, white man that you saw with his hand in his pocket, you only saw him with his knee on his neck. We don't teach that anywhere. We don't teach that in law enforcement. I am a DHS Flexi law enforcement instructor. I am a law enforcement instructor with the International Law Enforcement Educators Trainers Association. Alita, we don't teach that anywhere. I am a member of NOVEL, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. We don't teach that. That's hate. But what you saw, what I saw, were police officers. That's what we thought. But these were white men, and one man that looked like he was of a different race or ethnicity. But these were people in uniforms who were committing a crime. They don't wear their uniform proudly. They don't represent all law enforcement. But there's enough of them for us to be outraged, for us to feel this anger that is real, this pain that is real. Oh yeah, we can feel all of that. Katisha, I see you, baby. Rev, I see you. We can feel all of that because it is real. He said, get up. He knew he couldn't get up. He already knew he couldn't get up. There is not just injustice, but there's criminality behind this racist and racial behavior. Now, they were fired. That's good. They should have been. Every day, they should be fired. When we ignore what happens, we are part of the problem. When we say and when we hear, well, he should have complied. Do you know that if you are pulled over by the police and you don't sign your ticket for speeding, do you know you can go to jail for that? You can go to jail for not signing the ticket. Last year I drove from from the DC area to Birmingham like every other month. And yeah, I was speeding. And I got pulled over like way too many times. And when I got pulled over, sometimes it was in the early mornings at 4:30. Sometimes it was late at night. There were always white police officers. And I was always ready. Because, yeah, I had committed a crime. Was I scared? Sometimes. Not because I thought they would do something. Because that's not an automatic thought sometimes. Because I was like, dang, this is going to be points on my ticket. I didn't think that something could go wrong until after, but nothing ever went wrong. And I said, yeah, I know I was speeding. I know. And I wound up having conversations with law enforcement officers up and down the highway, mostly white males. And we would talk about a lot of things. But we haven't talked about this kind of pain that we feel in Black communities. I don't know. James Baldwin, and I posted this on my page, said we live in a perpetual state of anger because something's always happening. How can you not be angered and infuriated when you see a man on the ground that cannot move with a white man's knee on his neck? And you're right, Bridget, he was using a deadly form of martial arts. We used to go to the dojo at Princeton regularly, almost every day. We can't keep silent about these kinds of things. I'm angered. I'm angry. I'm infuriated. They were fired, but it doesn't mean that they're going to go to jail. Benjamin Crump is the attorney representing the family. He does an amazing job. I know Ben. I have called him. Hell, I have called him for cases in Alabama. We have called him for cases in Mississippi. There are a lot of amazing attorneys out there doing great work. Civil rights work. Regardless of their race, they do things that matter. But we can't have another protest and another march. Yesterday or last night, they protested in the community, and there was fire and tear gas. So I don't condone any of that. You know why? Because we're tearing up our stuff. We're tearing up where we have to live. We are tearing up our neighborhoods, our communities. We are being over-policed. Yeah, we are. We're being over-policed. And my son just went running. And I actually got online because I needed to try to breathe through right now. But he did stop on his run, and he texted me that he dropped our absentee ballot into the mailbox. Because, see, our voting thing is on June the 2nd. So if you want to do something, if you want to change something, if you want to make a difference, we don't all have to run outside. But if you don't vote, you don't change anything. If you don't speak out, if you don't feel this, if white people don't feel this, if they don't know what it's like to have to control your breathing while your son is outside running, they don't know this kind of pain. Some of us act like we don't know this kind of pain. What happened to George Floyd and to the countless others has made us all tired. We're all sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was up at 3 o'clock this morning, and I was thinking about my friend Charles Belk. And years ago, Charles, there's a picture of him on the internet, and I'll share it again, where he is sitting handcuffed on the curb in LA. Charles is still alive. He is actually in where is he? In Africa, South Africa right now. He lives and travels abroad. But he's a Southern man from Durham. He's still alive, but it could have went differently. And you're right. Where were the police and Bridget? Where were the police and tear gas when the protesters had guns and weapons protesting wear masks? No, they were not there. I thought about that too. We get criminalized. Our skin gets racialized and criminalized. We are in a perpetual state of danger and distrust. And it's not all law enforcement. Well, we already know that. We already know it's not all law enforcement. We don't need anybody to tell us that that it's not all law enforcement. We know that. We don't even need anybody to say, well, Blue Lives Matter. We know that. We know that. We know. We are police officers. We are married to them. We love them. They are family members. We know that. We know. Some of them don't even look like us. My brother, Maurice, you're right. I worry about you. I worry about you because carrying and wearing the badge and being the child of somebody that has a badge don't make you safe. It don't make you safe. You know why? Because when you're not in uniform, you know what? You're just black. You're just black. You're just black. You're criminalized too. You're in danger. Do people know that we're in danger? We are in danger. Our lives, our children, our legacy. There was a post from another man, white man, that said he was glad that this happened. That way, he said, I hope that he didn't breed or anything like that. And I'm like, wow. Wow. They say breed. Yeah, we always fit the description too. We fit the description. The description is whatever it is for the moment. And don't get me started about Karen. I think I said that earlier. That Karen in the park, I just had to tell one of the prosecutors. She said, no, I was saying Becky. I said, no, Karen is the racist one. Becky is the whole different. That's the sexual. Karen in the park, Karen, aka Amy Cooper, who was fired. See, Karen saw the black man, and the black man said, you're not supposed to have your dog on the leash. See, you can't tell some people what they can and can't do. And all he said was, you need to take your dog to the other side of the park. And he started filming her. And she says, I'm going to call the police and tell them that an African-American man is like terrorizing me. Wow, she went like all the way. She went there, like no hesitation. She went there. She went there, immediately weaponizing him, his race, because he told her that she was like breaking the law, like there was a sign and everything. And it's just like, it's just like, wow. Yeah. Oh, Nikki, hey sis. Oh, so you said it wasn't lost that they had to sing last night? Yes. And they had the same last name. They were different races. She weaponized him. Oh, she doesn't have her dog anymore. The PETA people did come. But look what happened. She immediately went straight there. Love you too, Nikki. Conversations about race become uncomfortable for people because they say race don't matter. Why you always got to play the race card? We're just playing the hand that we're dealt. How about that? How about that? You don't have to be racist based on the color of your skin. Anybody could be racist. They could exhibit racist behavior. They could spew racist commentary. But getting back to George Floyd and why I had a complete meltdown yesterday, it was because he was on the ground, handcuffed, and he was not human. They didn't see him as a human being. They didn't see him worthy. They didn't see his life as having meaning. They just wanted him to comply. You know, if you say no, or if somebody grabs you and you jerk away, as an instinct, you know that can be perceived as resisting arrest. Everything you can do can be perceived as resisting arrest. There is a culture that must be condemned. The culture is what must change. The culture of how we engage communities of color, Black people, brown people, Native Americans, the culture has got to change. We can protest all day long. We can say everything that we want to say, but we can't do anything if everyone does not contribute to the conversation. Oh, no, 45 hasn't said anything about this. But what he did say previously is he does not care if law enforcement injures an individual when they're being arrested. That's what he did say. He did say that. He meant that. Hey, Derek. He meant that. I was up at 3 o'clock and I was thinking about the day I went to the State Department. You know, when it was like a real State Department. I went to the State Department and you go in the front door and they have all this security, and then we walk down the hall to a room where we were having a meeting. I am the co-chair of a human rights organization of our committee. And there's a round table and we were all sitting around the table and people were all around the chairs. And one of the things that we were talking about was police brutality. People had come from all across the country to talk about what was going on, and one of those things was police brutality. Well, we see the uniform, but more importantly, it's the people that wear the uniform. Because everybody that wears the uniform doesn't operate the same. And I am just as angered by the people, by the police officers that stand and watch, as I am by those that actually commit the crime. But we watched a man get murdered right before our eyes. This was not a television show. This was not a movie being made where he could get up and walk away. We watched somebody be murdered. And do you know what some people still had in there? Well, if he just complied. I know I keep saying the same thing over and over again, because sometimes when you say the same thing over and over and over again, people will get it. But people don't seem to get this. We keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. We keep telling people they're killing us. And nobody even when there's a video, they don't believe it. They don't believe race is involved. Because see, we don't want to talk about that. But we know it's real. There was no tear gas. People were not removed, and they went to the State House armed in guns. They went. Nobody did anything. Nobody got killed. Nobody got removed. They carried the Confederate flag. The days of us being silent are over. We have to change some practices and some laws. We got to stop fighting one another. You're right. He continued to put pressure on him. I think I was most outraged because when you see the picture And I want you to go back. Well, don't go back if you have it in your mind. He has his hand in his pocket. The one hand that you can see, he has his hand in his pocket, which means, and try this out. Put your knees on a pillow. Put your hand in your pocket and just lean in and rest for a while. It was intentional. It was on purpose. He knew what he was doing. The other police officers knew what he was doing. They knew what was going on, and they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing to save a human life. And this happened all because they could. This happened because they could. You're right, Missy. He wet himself and he asked for his mother. He asked for his mom. No, that's not human. But we have to hold people accountable. Right now, I got to get focused. We all have to get focused. We have to hold people accountable for this. And there are ways that we can hold people accountable. We need citizen review boards for law enforcement agencies and departments across the country. We need to put people in office that are going to respond to what is happening. Hey, sis. We need individuals, regardless of race, who are going to stand up and ensure prosecutorial conduct and oversight when it comes to these type of crimes. This was a criminal act. It happened on television. We all saw it. It played out loud. We can't remain silent. People got excited because they said the FBI is investigating the case. I have a lot of friends with the FBI, retired, current. The problem is the FBI is also overseen by somebody that I have no faith in. I have absolutely no faith in our justice system. And his mom died 2 years ago. Wow. We have to vote people in office that are going to do what is necessary. I'm not going to say that all Republicans agree with this, because I think that would be a lie. That would just be like saying all black people agree. And that's not true. But we have to do something. Thank God Alex is home. We have to do something differently. We have to vote. We have to know who's in office. We have to hold them accountable. We have to ensure justice is done, not after the fact, but beforehand. Hey, Laura. We have to take accountability for not just their actions, but for our own and for our inactions. We can't just wait around and say, well, the next time I'll do this. We have to vote. We have to vote. We have to be vigilant. And while the presidency is really important, it doesn't start there. He's got a bully pulpit and he is loud. But if you don't know who your DA and prosecutors are, who your public defenders are, who the judges are that sit on the bench, if they're not doing the right thing, we've got a problem. Yesterday, before I filled out my ballot, I knew some of who was in office. We have got to look up their information. We have got to see how they decided cases. We have got to know where they stand. We don't always have to agree with everything that they say, but you have to know who's in office. Some people are going to vote party, but if you don't vote conscience, no matter what party it is, it won't matter. Humanity won't matter. Alex is home now. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. I was worried about my son. I was worried about him coming home. Oh, thank God he's home. I guess I better do some work now. It's good to see y'all. Talk soon. Take care.